Estrada, partner of Booyah Marketing, creator of Authority Spotlight, where we have deeper connections. Today, our returning honored guest is David Bruce Leonard, author, acupuncturist, body worker, expert in tropical, edible, and medicinal plants. How are you, David?
I'm fine. Can you do that without the papers?
What are we going to be talking about today?
I was going to continue what we're talking about in terms of last session we talked about emotional intelligence and somatic awareness, what they call interoception. Basically, I talked about body awareness and emotional intelligence. And I thought today maybe we could go over traditional practices in different cultures that use somatic awareness, cultural aspects of that, because there's really nothing new under the sun. And really, a lot of what science is doing these days is just reinventing the wheel. We're just, things our ancestors knew and used all the time, that we're just now sort of relearning or rediscovering. We talk about we talk in reference to body knowing all the time. We talk about he had a really big heart, or I knew in my gut something was happening, or even asking somebody what they're feeling. What do you feel like doing? That feeling is not what are you thinking about doing, it's what are you feeling, and that implies something somatic in the body. And so many cultures had ways of accessing body wisdom. In China, in the Chinese, some systems in Chinese medicine will say that the unconscious is below the diaphragm. So, in other words, it's our unconscious mind exists in the belly, and you probably could make a generalization around that, or a speculation, or a hypothesis because of the way the vagus nerve works and the gut-brain axis and stuff. But we talk in China. They talk about the unconscious mind being living in the belly, and then when our conscious mind would be above the diaphragm, be our chest and our heart, our lungs, and our brain, and so the unconscious mind, somatically speaking, would be here. And one of the things that happens is that the unconscious, that when the conscious mind accesses unconscious material, it goes below the diaphragm, goes into the belly. So that's a Chinese concept. The Hawaiians also had a concept called na'au, which means guts or knowledge, and the na'au is here in the belly. And there's another word in Hawaiian called ao, A-O, which is a spiritual light. And so you ike, you know with your na'au, you understand the world through your na'au, not through your brain, but more through your gut knowing. And my Hawaiian teachers would always say to me that you always enter the forest with your na'au, which means you're always entering with awareness of what's going on in your belly. And my belief, I suspect that so much of our relating to the world that's unconscious happens through sensations in the belly. We talked last week about the language of childhood, the emotional language of childhood being basically sensation.
Right.
So the Hawaiians will talk about ike, you know, or you see through your belly. And then there's the word ao, which means the spiritual light. And you put them together, you get the word na'auao, which means wisdom in Hawaiian. And so I sort of imagine this as the idea being when you shed light on your unconscious knowing over enough time, you get wisdom, which is what happens to people. Sometimes if we age as we get older, but also doing what we would call psycho-emotional work or shadow work can also help that shed light on the unconscious mind and help us to become better human beings and to understand ourselves. Sam Harris, the pundit, said we have two jobs in this life. We have one job in this life with two parts. The first part is to pay attention, and the second part is to be a good person. And from my perspective, a lot of that paying attention and being a good person, paying attention means noticing my own patterns, my own shadows, and then paying attention is to how am I wired? How am I reacting rather than responding to the world? And that goes back to what we talked about in emotional intelligence. The Chinese also had a system of interoception that has to do with Qigong, or what the Chinese used to call Dao Yin. And it's Qigong is like the mother of the Chinese martial arts. Like I say, it used to be called Dao Yin, and in Dao Yin, around the Song Dynasty, around the year 1000 or in that time, this type of Qigong, this type of sort of yoga movement meditation came into prominence, and it was called Neidan Qigong. Neidan means inner elixir or inner alchemy. And so, and during, when you're doing Neidan Dao Yin, you are paying attention to the sensations in the body, which is another way of accessing emotional intelligence, right? And there were specific practices for that. The Chinese had a phrase, I'm going to butcher this, called Qi Dao Yi Dao, which means that the energy in the body follows what you pay attention to. So by paying attention to what's happening in your belly, if you're emotionally triggered, or in your torso, you can help unpack your emotional patterns and realize that a lot of what we're reacting to is just a habit. It's a somatic habit. It's like a physiological habit that we have of when something triggers us, we react rather than taking time, taking some space and responding. So all of these things are things that different cultures would use in order to navigate their psycho-emotional states.
Oh, that's so interesting. So we were talking before about a meditation called the Hakulau.
Hakulau, yeah.
Yeah, could you please tell the viewers about that?
Hakulau is using peripheral vision to access data, access environment. So my Hawaiian teachers would they talked about Hakulau and Hakahele. And Hakulau is using peripheral vision to gather information about the environment. So it's sort of if I'm looking at something here, I'm focused on the camera, but my attention is out here. We call that locus and focus. So
Locus and focus.
locus and focus. Locus is where we identify within our body, and focus is what our eyes are focused on. But the take-home point is that if we have a soft focus rather than a fixed focus, a soft focus, and it's more of a parasympathetic response, a rest and digest, a relaxed response in the body. And if we pay attention to what's happening in the peripheral vision rather than our foveal vision, it actually will trigger a parasympathetic response, and we tend to relax more.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so when gathering herbs, I was taught to use peripheral vision so that I could gain access to more of my unconscious mind in my na'au, or below the diaphragm, but also just to kind of allow my body to determine what I was, where my interests went. Now, I'm not going to go pick a plant just because my body tells me to go pick it. I mean, I know what I'm gathering, right? I'm not going to use a pendulum to decide which drug to take or anything, right? But if there's some background information and we understand,
Right.
I have already done my due diligence, then
Right.
given that, I can use my intuition, you could say, my na'au, my unconscious knowing, to help me direct the energy. You know, as a woman, when you met a guy and he's creepy? You know that, right? Yeah, you know that.
I would he's not creepy.
Yeah,
You can feel
he's
that
not
too,
creepy, right?
right?
when you meet a guy and he's
Okay.
creepy, you know, like right now. So when you meet a guy and he's creepy, you know that you know your body recognizes that before your mind does. You're going to feel a sense of tension. So the same thing when sometimes you're having a conversation with a good friend, a dear friend, and you just kind of know you can feel what needs to happen or what that person needs. That's a deeper knowing. My Hawaiian teachers would say, this will fool you, but this will not fool you. So,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, so that kind of knowing, we obviously need our head and we need logic and science and all that, but we don't want to be just talking heads. We want to reclaim the lower half of our body. And in that reclamation, we become fully human. And some of these practices, these somatic practices, this interoception, Neidan Qigong, Hakalau, all these things we can use to help us to become hopefully better human beings and to pay better attention.
I love that. Yeah, being aware, being in the moment.
Yeah.
So how would you lead somebody doing the hakalau?
How would I lead them? I would have to show it, and I couldn't show you here. But that we'll do that for we can do a video rather than a live broadcast for that.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
look forward to that in the future. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the viewers?
No. You have two jobs. Be a good person and pay attention.
Be a good person and pay attention.
Yeah.
So how do people get in contact with you?
earthmedicine@protonmail.com, and my website is medic.earth.
Wonderful. Well, mahalo nui loa, David. We'll put his information down below. And if you enjoyed this, please hit the subscribe, leave a comment, tap the bell to get notified, and leave a thumbs up. That way you won't miss future interviews and business spotlights. If you've already subscribed, thank you. Your support helps us to produce helpful, informative content.
Before you say that, I just remembered. I have a YouTube channel, which I never talk about. Yes.
Please.
A YouTube channel. It's called Earth Medicine Institute that no one ever goes to. So if you want to see more of these inane ramblings, go to Earth Medicine Institute on YouTube.
And we'll put the information down below.
Okay.
Yeah, so go check it out because it's beautiful content. So my name is Christina Estrada, partner of Booyah Marketing, creator of Authority Spotlight. A hui ho until we meet again.